Hello and welcome to another episode where we delve into the fascinating world of technology and finance. Today, we're diving into a topic that's not only crucial but incredibly intriguing. How AI and analytics are reshaping bank fraud detection as we head into 2025. If you've ever wondered about the magic behind catching sophisticated fraudsters, or if you're just curious about how technology is changing the landscape of financial security, you're in the right place. Let's start with a little context. Over the last decade, the nature of financial fraud has changed dramatically. Gone are the days when fraud was just about simple check forgery or basic identity theft. Now, it's all about complex, layered schemes that can involve hundreds of people and span across continents. This evolution has forced banks and financial institutions to rethink how they approach fraud detection. We've moved away from those old-school, rule-based systems to intelligent platforms that can learn and adapt in real time. You might ask, why are data analytics and AI so vital for detecting bank fraud? Well, let me paint a picture for you. Imagine fraudsters as these crafty artists, always finding new ways to outsmart the system. Traditional methods just can't keep up anymore. But with AI and data analytics, we can sift through mountains of data in real time. We can spot patterns and anomalies that would be near impossible for a human to see. It's like having a super detective on your side. Consider this. Visa alone processes over 150 million transactions globally every day. Each transaction is a treasure trove of data. Things like merchant info, location, time, amount, payment method, and customer behavior patterns are all in there. Traditional systems used to flag transactions based on simple criteria, like an amount over $5,000 or an international purchase. But those methods ended up missing clever fraudsters who knew how to stay under the radar and also generated loads of false positives. I remember working with a mid-sized bank in Texas that was drowning in credit card fraud. They were manually reviewing transactions, and as you can guess, it was a nightmare, time-consuming and not very effective. We brought in an AI-driven solution, and within months, they cut fraud losses by 40%. It's incredible, right? But it wasn't just about the technology. It was how the technology empowered their analysts to focus on the really suspicious cases, rather than getting lost in routine alerts. Modern fraud detection systems are like multitasking geniuses. They process and analyze multiple data streams all at once. Beyond just the transaction data, these systems look at device fingerprints, geolocation, behavioral biometrics, and even things like social network analysis and external threat intelligence feeds. It's about building a comprehensive risk profile for each transaction, allowing for much more nuanced decision-making than ever before. But it's more than just crunching numbers. It's about understanding the story behind those numbers. You're looking for oddities, like a sudden spike in wire transfers or unusual ATM withdrawal patterns. These subtle deviations are often the first clues. Data analytics is all about establishing baseline behaviors for customers and then detecting meaningful deviations from those patterns. Say a customer usually makes small purchases at local grocery stores and gas stations. Suddenly, there's a big purchase at an electronics store halfway across the country. That would trigger an alert. But the system has to be smart enough to understand context. Maybe they're traveling for work or have moved recently. I recall a time when I used data analytics to uncover a fraud ring operating across multiple states. It was like putting together a giant puzzle. When the full picture emerged, it was both exhilarating and eye-opening. The breakthrough came when we started analyzing not just individual transactions, but the relationships between seemingly unconnected accounts. we discovered that dozens of accounts were making similar transaction patterns at the same merchants, using cards from different banks, but all linked to a network of money mules. Network analysis has become particularly powerful in fraud detection. By mapping relationships between accounts, devices, IP addresses, and merchants, analysts can identify fraud rings that would be invisible if you just looked at individual transactions. Graph databases and network visualization tools have made it possible to process these complex relationships in real time, revealing patterns involving hundreds of connected entities. Time series analysis is another crucial component. By looking at how customer behavior changes over time, systems can detect gradual shifts that might indicate things like account takeover fraud. For example, if a customer's spending patterns slowly change over several weeks, it might mean a fraudster has gained access and is testing the waters before making larger fraudulent purchases. Now, on to AI, our intelligent ally in the fight against fraud. Machine learning models can predict fraud with incredible accuracy, but it's not always simple. Training these models requires a robust dataset and careful tuning. The challenge is that fraud is a moving target. Just when you develop effective countermeasures, fraudsters adapt and come up with new techniques. Supervised learning models are the backbone here. They're trained on historical data, learning to identify the subtle patterns that distinguish fraud from legit transactions. But the effectiveness depends heavily on the quality of the data. Unsupervised learning techniques, like anomaly detection algorithms, are crucial for identifying new fraud patterns. They don't rely on labeled examples, but instead learn what normal looks like and flag anything significantly different. This is especially valuable for spotting new fraud schemes we've never seen. AI models can detect fraud with over 90% accuracy. But let's be real, AI isn't perfect. It sometimes flags legitimate transactions as fraudulent. These are what we call false positives. It's a balancing act, optimizing the model to minimize these while catching as much fraud as possible. That's where the human element comes in. False positives are a big deal. Every legitimate transaction that gets declined is a hit to customer satisfaction and bank revenue. Studies show that customers who experience false declines are more likely to switch to a different bank or payment method. So, fraud detection systems must be tuned not just for catching fraud, but for avoiding false positives too. Ensemble methods, which combine multiple machine learning models, have been particularly effective in balancing this. These methods allow the system to have different perspectives on the data, leading to more accurate predictions and fewer false positives. It's a bit like having a panel of experts giving their opinion on each transaction, rather than relying on just one. So as we look to the future, it's clear that the intersection of AI and data analytics in fraud detection is not just a game changer, it's a necessity. The landscape of financial fraud will continue to evolve, and with it, the technologies we use to combat it must evolve too. It's an exciting time to be in this field, and I hope today's discussion has shed some light on just how pivotal these technologies are in keeping our financial systems secure. Thank you for joining me on this journey, and I look forward to exploring more fascinating topics with you in future episodes. Until next time, stay curious and stay safe.